Hey guys, what's going on? We are going to do a quick, well, not so quick, Uldaman commentary for the Brewmaster monk. I did this last night. Support week. We have Afflicted and Raging as the affixes. I will have my build down below with like the Raider.io link, I guess, to my page, or I guess this run specifically. Pretty happy with this run. I think it was US 600, World 2000 something at the time. So at this point in the season, I don't think it's that impressive, but I was pretty happy with how this run went, and I kind of want to talk about it. Just general thought process throughout the key, what to look out for, and what our group did specifically to help us time it. We had about a minute and a half left. 8 deaths, I think, maybe 9. I don't remember exactly. We'll find out at the end of the video. This dungeon slaps tanks. There's a lot of very heavy hitting things, from jagged bites to chomps to just general like magic damage as well. So I'm going to talk about specific mob types when we get there. Because of that, I am running double defensive trinket setup. I'm running Treemouth's Festering Splinter plus Shard of Rockmora. I don't have a Talisman Crag Shaper. I would run that instead, but I have yet to see one. In terms of talents, we're running like a Charred Passion playstyle. I'm not running Bone Dust Brew. I know there's a lot of people who still prefer running it. I honestly prefer the Counter-Strike build to get out a little bit more damage. And when it comes to, like, I think I'm running in the Amulet still. We have the Storm Infused Stone with Desired Bloodstone. That's just to get out a little bit more damage, but let's jump in. Start of the key, we use Shocking Disclosure. If you use it before the key gets slotted, you'll have like a free 15 seconds of it at the start of the key, just a little extra damage. Typically good for anyone to use, even like healers and DPS, just because it will actually put the pot on cooldown. We're going to end up blessing this first pull. It's fairly sizable, but there's a trash pack we want to skip at the end, so we need to pretty much pull as much as we can before we get there. We're going to commit Weapons of Order and Dampen Harm at the start of the pull. I always find those cooldowns to be best to be used together, because you need to ramp with Weapons of Order to get that damage up. So you want to minimize the damage you take. So they're both 2-minute cooldowns. Pretty convenient to use them both at the same time. Once that pull goes down, we're going to just kind of continue chaining. These Geomancers, if you can get early kicks on, you'll then drag it over to these Basilisks or the Basilisks back, whichever you prefer. I had a little Transcendence set up there. And then we're essentially going to really look out for these Chomp casts. You can outrange them, but they are kind of fast, so you constantly need to be moving backwards. I'm going to take a ton of damage here. We ended up committing a Fort plus Diffuse just from some of the Stone Bolt casts or Stone Spike casts that are getting through. And then the triple chomp. So 2 connect with me. I dodge 1. And then if you can kick the spiked carapaces, that's good. But right now I'm just trying to stay alive. Praying to God. Big kite plays here. Knowing when to kite is a really important thing for tanks, especially the Brewmaster monk. Sometimes we get destroyed by dots, especially those physical bleeds like chomp. So that's what we ended up doing there, is just as soon as we had 2 stacks, we don't need to be in melee anymore. We have all the threat that we need, so we're going to continuously kite. Pulling 2 Basilisks in here with the Berserker and the double Geomancer is a fine pull. Again, this is one of the scarier pulls though, right? Because you have this disease, you have double chomps, and you have these magical bolts. So you need to be very, very careful on this pull. And since we committed all our CDs earlier, we don't have much. So we're going to have to kite a lot more. I had a Transcendence back. I move into line of sight so my healer can still hit me to make sure that I'm topped, but I can line of sight if I need to. There is an Afflicted that spawned around the corner, but we don't need to dispel it since none of us are back there. Luckily, we do have 2 soothes in this group, so raging isn't too much of an issue. We're making sure that we're soothing mobs that are... We can soothe the Berserker, but it's actually better to soothe either the casters or the Basilisks, because then you can at least stun them or ring them away, so the tank can efficiently kite. Alright, now we're moving on to the Lost Dwarves. This fight is pretty easy. You want to try to keep them as clumped as possible. The reason we're heading here first is because, well, we lusted the first trash pull, so it doesn't really matter if we come here Baylog, so it just makes sense progression-wise to just kind of go in order instead of doing any kind of backtracking. As soon as the Swift, or Eric, I guess, runs away or leaps away with that Skullcracker ability, I like to try to keep the bosses stacked. You do want to cleave them down as evenly as possible, because as soon as you defeat one, they start just raining fire down on your team, and it makes it kind of difficult to position. I'm trying to jump up on this ledge here to really bait the swirls kind of away from the middle of the room, but as our melee DPS are trying to keep uptime, they're going to just kind of actually giga clutter this area. Now there are a few spots you can actually drag these guys using line of sight in this room. That little staircase that I was just up on top of, and a little bit later you're going to see me use this another alcove towards the west side of the room. I'll point that out once we get there. If you are going to try to kill anyone first, I would try to get Eric, because it's really difficult to move him, where it's much easier to move Balog and Olaf. So we're just kind of cleaving. I'm trying to point them into the wall so no one gets hit by cleave. I'm now going to drag them on top of Eric, but we're actually about to push Balog because we just did some insane priority damage. Our hunter died there. I don't remember what he died to. I can't remember if it was fire on the ground or if it was the ricocheting shield or the arrow, but something ended up getting him, but we don't feel like it's worth the res with just Eric left at about 50%, 40% health. But as you can see now, we are just getting bombarded by these swirls. I actually ended up picking up a dot from getting hit. I didn't think I got hit there, so I ended up actually getting dispelled from our healer. Now he's in the boat. After the boat is done, we are going to drag him into a different alcove of the room, which is over where I'm standing in, well, now I'm not, but this isn't a very scary fight for tanks, but as you can see, there's this like little area back here, so I'm gonna actually tuck back so he runs up the hill. And then if things get worse, we can always drag back because the fire will start despawning. This guy can be LOS'd, so this room is actually... There are spots you can actually stand to kind of bait him away from where he's currently positioned. You just want to keep an eye out for that, but... Not super great in non-pre-made groups because people... I guess pugs might not understand that completely. So our hunter ends up just releasing. We were waiting, but our warrior went a little too far forward. But that's okay. This bull has just these two casters. Just keep them locked down if possible. I don't remember if I hold weapons here or if I'm gonna end up using... I think I use it in the next bull. We're just waiting for a hunter to get back before I really started chaining. The Geomancers, both the trash and on the boss fight, are probably the priority targets in most cases. Their chain lightning will actually do an insane amount of group damage, or their stone spike will just kind of start annihilating the tank. So we're going to just roll right in. The first couple chomps come out. As you can see, my weak aura kind of says back up really quickly. So if you're backing up slowly and the Basilisk is just outside of melee range, he won't actually hit you with a chomp. And they got rid of fervent strikes for the most part in this game, so you don't have to worry about it going on your melee, though there are circumstances where it might. So the best way to really do this is just by kind of constantly kiting backwards. As you can see, I'm kind of kiting around this F-flow in a way, using it almost as like a layout or a mini room. Once the chompy boys go down, we're going to just kind of chain this into the next pull. Again, priority is Geomancer. The Berserkers do kind of slap a little bit, but we do have a Disease spell, and all it is dodging these Brutal Slams. Probably going to skip through this. Again, it's just avoid swirl and kick when you can. Once those mobs die, we're just letting our healer get topped off. This fight, despite being fortified, still kind of slaps. There are a lot of kind of areas where the healer needs to be doing a ton of healing. There's also dispels from Afflicted, so we're going to try to help out with that when we can. We have the Shaman, and we have myself who are able to do that if possible. Geomancer typically needs a range kick. We're going to Ring of Peace it instead, and then I should be able to get the kick on it now. But again, Geomancer is all about the Chain Lightning cast. The priority for this fight is whenever Totem is active, Totem is the priority while keeping the Geomancer locked down. We got the Roar and the Sweep there. As soon as the Totem is destroyed, focus the ads. I see way too many groups focus the boss, and there ends up being way too many ads up, and it becomes out of control. This fight is all about controlling just kind of the ad spawns. You can CC the Geomancers, which you're going to see us do later. I end up actually using a paralysis on one. It typically depends on Bromach's health and how fast you're pushing. And as long as everyone knows that you're going to be CCing, that's fine. Most of the time when I pug this key, DPS will just start hitting it right away, or they'll try to kick and accidentally do damage to it. Now that the totem is active, of course we are swapping to it. During this, there's a lot of group damage going out, so as a tank, you want to try to keep that in mind for your healer. Use your defensives. I have trinkets available. I do have dampen harm as well. So this will be our last ad set I think that we do, and then I'll end up CCing the Geomancer out. The ambushers as well, they jump to range players, and I think they jump to the farthest player, so ideally range want to stay near melee if possible. We're focusing the Geomancer currently, and this will be the last totem we have to do. Bless comes out, I ring the Geomancer underneath to try to get the cleave, keeping it close so we can CC it. Then this new set comes out, I CC the Geomancer, so we don't have that extra caster we have to worry about, and it's one less mob that's meleeing your tank. And we are just gonna finish this guy up. Pretty clean execution of that fight. Healer still had to do 90k, but we were vibing. This pull really sucks. So this is probably one of the more dangerous pulls. These custodians, the snake boys, not the dwarf boys, they do this thing called Jagged Bite. You can outrange it. I don't do a good job here. I'm kind of trying to stay planted because these other custodians, the dwarfs, do a frontal cleave, which I don't want to hit my melee. We're going to commit Weapons of Order to this pull. Dampen Harm. We also had Nizao up. We still have Treemout's Festering Splinter. And then there will be a point where I just hard kite. Now, luckily, we have, again, like I said, 2 Enraged Dispels. So I can get out. I grab this Afflicted. I Ring of Peace. The Dwarves I'm not scared about again. It's mostly those Jagged Bites from the Custodians. The way you really deal with them is they have this like manic Grief Torch looking icon. It's their Frenzy. Whenever they're stunned, it'll remove it, similar to the boss fight. And during that stun, they take 50% more damage. So having a lot of access to stuns is really good. So we have things like Leg Sweep, we have Stormbolt, and we also have Cap Totem. So that pull goes down. I go to Zen Med here just so I can stay alive from that bleed. Zen Med is a very unique cooldown because it's once you're autoed, it goes away, but it's a massive 60% DR. So you can just sit in it if you're ever taking heavy dot damage, if there's any kind of like aura damage, and you're not getting meleeed. Here you're going to see me replicating that thing where I say you can outrange the Jagged Bite. All you have to do is back up. So as you can see here, Jagged Bite starts, back up. Jagged Bite starts, back up. That one went on me. I went a little late, but as you can see, this Jagged Bite is just ripping into me. The guy is at 4 stacks. We're trying to hold stun for boss, but as long as you keep backing up, you're fine. You could do this with that last pull, but it's just scary because there's a lot of different, like there's the 2 frontal cleave guys as well. But as long as I keep backing up here, we're chilling. I commit the leg sweep just to finish the guy off, and then we're going to be able to go into boss. We're going to let our healer drink just for a second, and we're making sure that we lust here. For the most part, our group is in Discord outside of our shaman, so that's why you probably saw me type lust there. He was just kind of vibing to music. This fight, the secret to this fight is actually not waiting until his Titanic Empowerment to stun him, but instead stunning him on the Crushing Stomp if there's a bleed out. So there, our Stormbolt was late. I was making some bad calls here. This was our first key of the night. But basically, as a tank, you want to get rid of his 2 inexorable stacks, and then after that, you want to have an assigned stun if possible. So here we have the 2 orbs together. I'm going to use it to remove his stacks, and then we're going to Stormbolt on this Crushing Stomp. I lied. We don't. We should have, but we didn't. So here's Titanic Empowerment. I commit the leg sweep. I think the next one we will. But the reason the bolt, the single target healing from the bolt or the dot that players have is really painful. But it's always when it overlaps with a burst of AoE damage. So that's why you want to try stunning on the stomp instead of on the Titanic Empowerment. And then eventually, once you get him low enough, if you need to, you can keep chaining stuns if you need to. So here we go, Crushing Stomp coming out, and we get the Stormbolt on it. If that didn't happen, our Hunter probably would have died there if you saw how low his health got. The bleed was just too much for our Shaman there. He probably had Earth Ellie available. He should have used it, but ended up not. Afflicted in the back. I think I feel like these Afflicteds go off. I feel like I end up not seeing them. Oh yeah, this one goes off. Crushing Stomp here. I think we're fine. We get the stun and then we're going to finish. Having 100% reduced haste here though for our healer is really, really bad. That trank's got to be such a long channel. All right. Nice little Talondras fight. So we're just straight piss vibing here. And now here is where we're going to double up this Weaver. So we're going to get the kick on the Weaver right away, and then we're going to start moving. We just want to make sure we interrupt that, the hailstone is what it's called. It does a ton of AoE group damage. You can line of sight it, but it's just better if you just knock it or stun it or something really quick to get this all grouped up. The Weaver's still in the back, just shooting storm bolts. We have Weapons of Order active. We're then going to commit Fortifying Brew while we're healthy so we can have more effective stagger. And I have a cooldown paired with that. Weapons of Order, again, like it's a relatively damage-focused cooldown as well. So you want to pair it typically with like Fort Brew or Dampen Harm if you have either of those available. Not at the same time necessarily. We also use Tree Mouth here just to get a little extra healing out. You can see that I'm at almost 100k HPS. That is mostly thanks to my trinkets. Both Tree Mouth and Shard of Rockmora have they do roughly about 700k healing if you get the full value out of it. So it's just a ton of healing. Shard of Rockmora has a slightly longer cooldown, but lasts for 30 seconds. And instead of being a DR, it just absorbs portions of each attack, where Tree Mouth is a absorb that absorbs half of the damage you take. So both really good times, or both really good trinkets. I was reading Twitch chat on the left there. So yeah, if you ever want to watch me do these keys live and brick some bad Brewmaster keys, come check me out. The link will be in the description. This pull is really simple. It's also kind of a cooldown recovery pull for me. I just want to have stuff going into this next area. And we want to be ready for the pull after this because it just giga slaps. Again, I'm facing the wall because these custodians have some cleaves. The weavers do a shield and the warder does Curse of Stone. So we just want to kind of make sure we're locking all those things down. The weavers are always the priority kill in this pull because they do that Hail of Stone cast, especially if you don't have soothes. You will take a lot of damage once they're enraged. They'll typically cast it twice, at least at this level, with our level of damage. They'll cast Stone Bolt into Hail of Stone on pull, and then they'll do like a couple of Stone Bolts back into a Hail of Stone. So you have the option to just not push them until the second Hail of Stone comes out. Then you interrupt it, and then interrupting it with the stun, and then you just blast. All right, and our healer's good. I have Weapons of Order up. I have both of my trinkets. I have a full Celestia Brew I pop right before going in, so I don't lose those stacks. We'll start really healthy, starting strong with like that 200k HPS. We also use Shard of Rockmora. Weapons of Order, Diffuse Magic is active because some of these Stone Bolts are going off. Earthquake is coming out, and then of course that Curse of Stone needs to be interrupted. I think it ends up going off on our Shaman, but I think he dispels it from himself. Or maybe our healer did, I can't remember, but... The scariest thing here is the Warder. A lot of people think it's the Protector, or not the Protector, the Giant Guardian guy. Maybe that is the Protector? Yeah, that's the Protector. The Protector, you want to kind of focus, but the Weaver's way scarier in terms of like overlapping. Because as long as you're not sending the poop on the ground, you're not taking any more damage, but the Hailstone is the silent killer. Alright, so we're vibing with these two spiders until my group's ready. We wait for the Afflicted to come out, we get the Dispels, then we're going to chain pull in. The big thing here is keeping these Sonic Bursts locked down. They do a little bit of group damage, plus silence anyone who's casting, or silence anyone, period. So as long as you're interrupting them, you should be good. The leg sweep plus the knock up there was really intelligent play. And then this dot hurts a lot, but luckily we have Detox and we have a Druid who can dispel it, so the poison isn't too difficult. You can commit Diffuse Magic here if you want to as a Brewmaster. I don't have it up currently, and I want to use it on boss for damage, so we're going to try to save that. I don't have a lot of defensive CDs here. Afflicted comes out, we get the Dispel. And then once these bats die, the pull becomes pretty tame. And our DPS are just like giga pumping. Alright, so for the boss, we'll have Dampen, we have Nizao, we have Diffuse coming up, we'll have Tree Mouth in a few seconds, we also have Weapons of Order coming up in about 20. We're looking pretty goated. We definitely don't do this boss great. I think our Shaman dies 3 times. He uses both of our reses, which is just funny. I haven't watched this back since, so I want to see how he dies, because I think all of them were kind of grief. Enzo, if you end up watching this video, I'm sorry, but you played like shit on this boss. Okay, so where you tank this guy is still, at least I don't really know. I like to try to bring him to a side where there aren't any orbs. So as you can see, there's this deactivated golem to my lower right, like backside. I kind of want to bring him over there so orbs have the most amount of travel time so our players can see it. That very first Searing Clap came out on me right away, and I let it go off, then I diffused, and that diffuse actually puts the dot back on the Emberon, and it makes him take a ton of damage. Similarly, you can use Spell Reflect as well. So just always keep an eye out for that. And then Enzo ran into an orb there for sure. He onks. And then this guy goes center. The big thing here is the orbs don't disappear when we phase. Also, orbs will always be sent at the closest player near them. So when we're all grouped up like this, a lot of these orbs are coming right at the boss. We're focusing on dodging orbs right now. And then we are just running to this next mob. Since now there's no more orbs, as long as we stay grouped, our healers should be able to keep us pretty healthy. Our goal is to try to defeat each keeper before the beam actually gets to us, except I'm going to set up a Transcendence here. And this will allow me to stay behind to finish off any adds that my group doesn't kill. So here the keeper's still at 38%. I'm going to Transcend over the beam, and they're going to continue forward, and I'm going to save Touch of Death for this. Actually, I already used Touch of Death. I'm dumb. But now this guy's at 40. Our Shaman tried to tunnel there and ended up not being able to do it in time, so he, again, griefed. He should have just kept running. And then we battle res him, and I think he'll die almost immediately again. We have Dampen for that, plus Weapons of Order. I'm still sitting on Tree Mouth if we need it. We spread out here. Our Shaman takes a ton of damage. He had Health Pot available, but he didn't use it. That's partly our healer's fault, partly his fault for not using Health Pot, but it's all good. The boss is at 11%. We have Execute, plus we have, I think, Spell No Spell Reflect. I'll diffuse this dot. As you can see, the dot is now applied to him, and it's going to just do it. It's about, I think on this difficulty, it's about like 350k damage if you diffuse like right away. And lower levels, it'll be less, obviously, because it scales with key level, but it's just free damage, and you can do one. You can do the very first one in the first phase, and then when you get back to the phase 1 again, you can do it on the second, and then you won't be able to use it at all in third. But the fight should never actually last that long. All right, and then this is where the dungeon kind of goes south a little bit, at least this pull specifically. We didn't do a great job at keeping Kix locked down on the stone bolts. Gonna get a ring of peace on that hail of stone to get him knocked in. This golem I'm tanking here because you can actually line of sight this thunderous clap. It's very good to do for squishier classes or in higher fortified keys just to minimize damage. On weeks where it might be like bolstering, for example, also a good strategy. As soon as these like weavers die, you want to LOS. Hail of Stone is going off here. We get the Suds and we try to interrupt, and then here I don't line of sight, and then the stone bolt goes off and it kills me. We had our Shaman's Kick available. I ended up dying to the stone bolt. The Thunder's Clap did do a fair bit of damage. I could have committed a CD as well. I just thought the pull was going to die before I died, so that was kind of a mistake on my part though. I can't really blame the Shaman for not kicking because he should have also been LOSing there. And then when we get back, it's just the Thunder's Clap we have to deal with. As long as everyone's healthy, we shouldn't have to line of sight it. So there I think we threw 2 deaths, and I think we'll have a couple more, and then we'll be good. And at this point, we're saving Lust, I think, just for last boss, though we could Lust another pull and then have it for last boss if we wanted to, but I don't think we end up doing that. And now I'm telling my group to stay back. This is going to be a line of sight strat that I like to use because it allows my group to easily line of sight the golem, and it also brings the weavers up here and gets them kind of stacked. Now there's one kick that's kind of far. It's right now still doing its Hail of Stone channel. It's right now coming in, and then we'll get a kick on it in a second. These guys are pretty short, so if they're casting on the tank, you can just like kind of back up, and the stairs themselves will line of sight them. Hail of Stone, we get the knock up there with the fear. That's good. And every time my group sees that Thunderous Cash from the Golem, all they have to do is step behind the pillar and avoid the damage taken. I like to pull often back in this area because this kind of next tunnel is just really obnoxious to be in. I don't know if anyone else feels like that, but like the next pull, for example, I see a lot of tanks try to hold them in the hallway, like that really narrow tunnel, and that's just so fucking bad. So here, like I said, I'm gonna just Crackling Jade the mobs that are sitting in there and get the patrol, bring them back. We're gonna commit our Shard of Rockamora on pull to mitigate some of this early damage. We still have Health Pot available. I used Fort Brew to help with some of this physical damage to increase my effectiveness of my stagger, plus my just general health. And this is, looking back, I don't think this is the best place to actually tank them, but again, a lot of them have cleaves, so I'm trying to face them into the wall, but I'm not sure how good the camera angle was for my other DPS. Like, I don't mind being wall POV like this, I'm used to it, but I think my actual group probably wasn't super fond of me tanking it here. But that's a-okay. And a couple enraged cleaves. Physical damage, not too much of a problem for the Brewmaster Monk. We have a 9-stack Celestial Brew if we need to use it here. I commit it for some reason. I don't think I need... fuck it, it's fine. Using Celestial Brew on cooldown is better than not using it at all. Or dying because of it. And then I forgot the route. I forgot that I needed this like little corner pull. So I'm trying to skip around here. We're going to grab just the golems. And then I'm going to realize that like halfway through that I actually need the warders and custodians. So that's going to be a weird little thing that we need to do here. So we're going to wait till line of sight. And then after this line of sight, I'm going to go chain. So I'm rolling out. We're grabbing the custodian and the earth warder. Trying not to let my group get cleaved by them. My hunter's standing on top of me though. And I think he ends up getting just cleaved down, yeah. That was kind of his fault. Like, I know why he positioned there. He positioned just to line of sight if they started casting when I was coming back. But the casts were about 10 seconds out anyways when I did roll away. And yeah, these custodians have this frontal cleave. So it's better for everyone to be, obviously, behind the mobs. And then, yeah, keeping them right here allows my group to dip behind those pillars just to avoid the damage altogether. As you can see, Thunderclap just went off. No damage went out. Whenever you have these Ebonstone golems, this is what you want to do. You want to find like a nice wall, a good pillar, just so your group can actually avoid taking the damage and your melee don't lose a ton of buff time. 2 afflicted in the far back. I'm going to jump and grab one. Healer should be able to grab the other, and then we're just vibing. Our hunter's almost back. That's why his damage obviously is super low this pull, is because he was dead. But he'll have True Shot for the next pull. All right, we are good to go. We have a nice little 9-stack of Celestial Brew here. Might be able to pop it up to 10. No, I think we use on 9. In hindsight, probably could have doubled this. This pull's not actually that scary as long as you're LOSing the Golem. Curse of Stone needs to be interrupted. If it does go off, you want to Dispel, or that player needs to use a defensive and move out of group, because after you hit 5 stacks, you explode in like a 5-yard radius around you. Once the warders die, though, I'll chain the Golem into the next pull. We still have access to Fort Brew. At this point, I'm trying to help, or trying to hold on to my CDs, because I want them for the trash after this group. Because all of the, what is it, like the Infinity Dragonflight, Infinite Dragonflight trash, those guys are a big scary. Good old wall POV, trying to keep the Golem right up against these pillars so people can LOS. We're looking real good. This custodian, or this guardian, is just really beefy. With the Golem dead, though, now we're just going to focus the guardian. So yeah, in general, our run was pretty smooth. I think our split on Bromach was a little slow, but that's okay. Having a couple of deaths here and there in the dungeon isn't bad. This timer still feels a little tight, though. I feel like our group did pretty good damage, and like our pacing throughout the dungeon felt pretty good. But when we got to the end, we pulled the last boss with I think 4 minutes left. Finished with like a minute and a half. I like to tank right in this hallway here because this allows our DPS to just kind of step to either side near these like little fire pits to drop their debuffs if they need to. We don't have obviously the Priest for Mass Dispel, so this pull can get really scary. It's really on our DPS to know when they're at a stack where they can't handle it anymore. So our healer isn't really, like, our healer's pumping, obviously, on the people who need it, but it's safe to typically LOS on a single guy around, I would say, 5 stacks, but again, it depends on your healer. But these agents, they have their little time blade, and that's what's really going to fuck you. So I have a nice big Celestial Brew. I do have Tree Mouse Festering Splinter still. This pull is going to be harder than the next pull, though, because there's 2 agents instead of 1. And now that pull is done, we're looking good. So we have 1 more pull left to do. We're going to be skipping the double Time Reaver pull. We're just going to do the agent with single Time Reaver. Going to roll in. We're going to grab the left-hand side first of the whelps. This is going to allow our group to funnel a little bit. We're going to pop Shocking Disclosure. We're going to use Tree Mouse Festering Splinter. We're focusing the agent, I think. The agent does a lot more tank damage. Time Reaver does a lot more group damage, but Time Reaver, you can LOS, you can Dispel. I'm looking for this last Afflicted. I was able to get it last second. Kudos to me. But Breath of Fire dropping is not great. And then what we're going to do here in a second is I'm going to pull in more whelps to have additional funnel for my group. Afflicted comes out, pull in the whelps just to have that like last little funnel. It's also the last percent that we need for our key. And then we'll be vibing. So with about 4.5 minutes left, all we have to do is skip into the boss room and pull and hopefully not wipe. So the way you do this is you can just jump up here. I'm really bad at it though. And then you can get through this little alleyway, but you can also walk around the edge like this. And that's it. No Mind Tooth needed, no lock gate, no weird shit, no melds. Our Shaman's struggling a little bit, but we're fine. Our healer's able to get like food buffs and stuff and mana, and we're gonna be vibing in here in a second. The way I like to do this boss is by pulling him off to the right-hand side of the room. And your range and melee kind of want to stay to on his right shoulder, so to my left. This will bait pools nice and neat underneath him. Time Sync is a debuff that goes on 3 players. It can be removed by multiple things. It could be immune by Blade Storm. It could be Post Haste will remove it. I think Shamans have a way to remove it. Shapeshifting as a Druid will remove it. And if we need to, my Tiger's Lust can dispel it. So dispelling those immediately is great. We ended up lusting pull with CDs available. Now that we're in this back corner, he's going to do one last Sand Breath, followed by one more Eternity Orb. And then we are going to be able to move into the poop on the ground, or the pools, or whatever, the time anomalies. Now, once this corner is loaded, I'm going to go to stage. And then we're going to basically, there's like 5 points in the room. There's the kind of the right corner, stage, left corner, and then there's like kind of the 2 corners at like the front of the room where the wall is more, you know, curved. And then we just rotate around. So this boss you can do actually forever. While it does get really tight, as long as everyone's near melee and stacked up until time sinks come out, you're typically chilling. This Sand Breath is going to come out here. I had just a Celestial Brew active for it. We still have Nizao, we still have Diffuse, and we still have Fort. Nizao, though, being one of the weaker of the buffs. I did Diffuse on that knockback, which in hindsight I should have saved for the breath because the Wing Buffet doesn't really hurt me all that much. I know I say Wing Buffet. I think it's funny. It's a joke. I commit my health pot there to top myself. We dispel, and now we are going into the time anomalies on the ground. I will always pull the boss back to the corner I just left. That makes it easy for both like melee DPS not to get hit by the frontal, and it makes it easier to keep these orbs kept up. There I use Zen Med. That is a decision that I was able to make there because the boss isn't autoing me during that Sand Breath channel, so that's another good DR if you need it. I have Nizao active. I have Shard of Rock More coming up in 1 second. It is now available, but I died of the Sand Breath. I had Celestial Brew too. I could have saved myself here. I just was bad. Quick battle res into a taunt, and we are chilling. Bad play on my part. You want to be, as a tank, really paying attention to those Sand Breaths. Those Sand Breaths are what really is going to clap a tank. You typically only need 1 defensive there, so either Diffuse, Celestial Brew, obviously like Trinket would have been fine. Anything I could have used there, I would have probably lived. I'd be interested to see what the overkill was. I don't think it was that big, though. And then boss goes down, minute left, and we are good. So that was the run. That was good. I was proud of it. We got a nice little indestructible weapon. Never going to use it. I hope this was useful for you guys. It's always fun to kind of watch back and critique my own gameplay and also talk about the decisions we made throughout the run. So I hope you guys learned something. If you guys have any questions about my build or what we did or have any suggestions, please let me know in the comments below. And I will catch you all in the next one. Peace.